Everybody, welcome back to the Quiet Time podcast, but except this time I have a co-host now that will be joining me for a long time. His name is Benny as well, Benny Fowler Jr., CEO of Benny Fowler LLC, coach of CEOs. He is now my co-host on the Quiet Time podcast. So everybody welcome him. And today we are going to be talking about building winning teams. And I'm going to start with something that was sent to me earlier about a team that my dad built, Power Stroke, the team that my brother and I grew up on. So it says, Coach Fowler's philosophy for the youth basketball organization is to educate the young men in the game of life, as well as teaching them the game of basketball. The Power Stroke organization stresses the fundamental skills of basketball, such as passing, shooting, dribbling, rebounding, and defense. Basketball is not the only topic discussed during training. Life skills such as teamwork, building confidence, dealing with peer pressure, keeping a positive attitude, never giving up, hard work, and most of all, the importance of getting a good education. Power Stroke began as a basketball team, but it's grown into a family. What does that mean to you?
Well, actually, it's kind of a thrill of a lifetime. And I remember, just starting how Power Stroke started, at least the basketball part of it. We were working in the community, just doing some volunteer work. At least I was, and you guys were a part of the Grasshopper program in Southfield, where the Southfield Parks and Race was putting on a program. And we had been a part of that program for about 2 years, 3 6-week sessions every 2 years, where they were stressing the fundamentals, dribbling, making layups, things like that, teamwork, attitude. And at the end, we would have a little test, where we would have a little scrimmage game for like 7 or 8 minutes, kind of full courts on some little tight rim. You guys were 6, 7, 8 years old. And, after about 2 sessions of doing the fundamentals, you were ready to really experience playing basketball, as a team. And so, really everything starts with the fundamentals and building to the point where you say, okay, this team or these individuals are ready to really go out and at least be tested in some more challenging situations, which is what we did. So for me, it was fun. If I was going to do it, we were going to do it the right way. I wasn't really interested in it just going out and throwing the balls out there and just, isn't that fun watching people fall down and not being able to dribble? That's fun only for so long. If your kids are getting beat by a substantial amount and they're not really playing, if there's more skilled people out there, it soon does not turn into fun. So to me, it was really about building the fundamentals and then helping the kids and the families really learn the game of life, which is the most important thing.
Yeah, and you say fundamentals. How did you take those fundamentals that you taught us at a young age, but also incorporate them into your teams at Ford? That's, what people really want to hear about is how do those basketball skills transfer and life skills transfer that you taught us at a young age that we use now to this day, but how did those transfer into what you did at Ford? Because you were working with teams at Ford and, it's a lot of teamwork right there that goes into running a major company like that and building quality products.
Yeah, well, you're right. I often say, I led quality for Ford for the better part of 11 and 12 years. And I always say, if you're going to deliver great outcomes in world-class vehicles, it is the ultimate team sport. And I was blessed with having a lot of very talented people working on our team, business unit leaders that made investment, and functional skilled team leaders that played positions like a manufacturing leader, a product development leader, a purchasing leader, or an information technology leader, an HR leader. So every team, my team was made up of various functional leaders that had to play positions at a world-class level in order for us to deliver world-class results. And there again, we started with the fundamentals of information, like what are customers actually complaining about? What is the definition of quality? Customers have different things that they think about quality. First, it has to get you from point A to point B, and it has to do that in a reliable fashion. And those basics are kind of fundamental things that you expect. And then, today's cars, they're doing everything except for flying right now. They can talk, you can talk to them, they play music. They're like computers on wheels. So the advancements that have been made over 40 years that I've been in the business, you can see that there's an ever demanding population of customers that have to be satisfied, and you have to deliver world-class quality at an efficient and affordable price. So for me, I started with basic fundamentals of who's on the team and what are they actually supposed to be delivering to make the team function the way it's supposed to function. I usually try to get them organized and make it predictable, the information that we were going to be using to make decisions. I tried to get them into a team environment where the meeting cadence was set so that they know where I was going to be and I knew where they were going to be at a certain time. I didn't try to control everything. I had a meeting with my boss every Thursday, and my team had a meeting with me every Friday. And we scripted everything right down to the font size so that if you're working globally, as I was with six continents in maybe 25 countries around the world with different languages, you really have to focus on making sure that everybody understands and communicates. So team meeting cadences, the language that we use has to be commonized and has to be focused on in a certain way. And then there's certain ways that you go about solving a problem, which we try to make very predictable in the organization. So if I look at the parallels of what we really try to do in youth basketball and what I try to do in situations where teams are not performing at the levels that we want, I don't really try to surprise them with anything. I try to make sure that everything is predictable, that they're aware of what its settings are, or what the times that we start, and the discipline required in order for us to deliver world-class results. And I find that the challenges of performing at the elite levels, whether it be basketball, baseball, football, wherever it is, the world-class teams, the team that consistently win, have a philosophy that they follow, and they expect people to execute within inside of that philosophy. Everybody knows the language, they know what they're supposed to do, and they are expected to perform their task at a higher level. And that's how you build winning teams.
Yeah, when you say build winning teams, I hear that there's a lot of delegation at Ford Motor Company, and the best teams that I've been on, and all football teams are built like that. Is that you have your general manager, you have your head coach, and then you have other pieces that are delegated. You have assistant coaches, you have position coaches, and if a team is going to run together and move forward together, things have to be delegated, and the leaders have to delegate the responsibilities. And you talked about being in meetings and having everything scripted, and you're meeting with your boss on Thursday, then you have your meeting on Friday. And it's very similar in the NFL locker room, is that, we have team meetings every single day, but it's just, to go over the practice that we had the day before, and everything is just leading up to Sunday, but it's always about getting better and always about moving forward, but attacking the tasks at hand. And, that's kind of what I'm hearing.
Yeah. So just to go back to what you said, you start with the vision, because if you have a compelling vision for what the organization is trying to accomplish and everybody understands the vision, and then you have to have a strategy for how you're going to accomplish the vision. So once you come out of the strategic phase, so if you have a coaching staff, meaning like our top leadership team, the top coaching staff, there's a philosophy of what everybody is trying to espouse. And then you have to have a plan for attack. So every day you get out, so we know what the plan is, and we say we're going to attack things this way, or we're going to play this way, or we're going to play this kind of philosophy every day. So then it's really about the players understanding that and then executing within inside of that plan and philosophy every day. And if you have success, you know that people are going to try to learn what your philosophy is, and they're going to have it on film, and they're going to address it. So you have to constantly refine from a continuous improvement standpoint, your vision, strategy, plan, and attack. So every week it's not predictable what you're going to be doing. There'll be predictability inside because everybody will be on the same page, but your opponents will know in order for them to play against you and to win, they're going to have to play a really good game to succeed. And that's how I really tried to lead and coach my teams. There was no guarantees for success. Sometimes things didn't go the way that we thought they should be going, but then the philosophy that you have is you come in and you review that very quickly, information from the consumers, what the challenges are, and you make adjustments all the way through to make a better plan every day, every week, every month, until you become world class. I mean, I did one thing for all of the teams. I just tried to define what the best was about. And wherever I was, we wanted to close the gap, become the best, and then remain the best.
When you say adapt, like that's one of the biggest things that teams have to do. Everybody has a plan, but like what happens when the plan doesn't go accordingly? How did you get your teams to adapt? Because the teams that I've been on, the best teams that I've been on, have been able to adapt to whatever situation, make the adjustments right then and there, and then kind of move forward. Like, Peyton was a master at adapting at the line of scrimmage. Eli the same way. Coach Kubiak was great at in-game adjustments. Even going back to Michigan State, in-game adjustments. If you can make those in-game adjustments right then and there, adapting to on the fly, I think that's super key, because everybody has goals, and even some companies have visions, mission statements, but how do they adapt?
So let's just say this, right? I'll give you an example of the same philosophy inside of an organization. It's called responsiveness to consumer demand. So, for example, if you went to a dealership, you put a warranty claim in. We worked on getting the time frame down from maybe a couple of months to like 20, 40, 40, 80 hours. So if you put a claim in, it would be inside of one of our assembly plants that we're making adjustments real time the next morning. So the claims are reviewed. We see what they are. If we know what they are, we can make an adjustments real time, just on the fly. Now, if they're big ticket strategic things like a change in the overall philosophy, like where we're going to play and how we're going to win, what business we're going to be in, what is the model, those are larger strategic questions that could have an influence on your capital and how you invest. So therefore, those are changes that don't happen really easily, because like take, for example, if I start to invest in an automobile, it could take me 3 years to get it onto the marketplace. So something that you're seeing today, like the Bronco, may have been conceived three and a half years ago. And so that once that starts, you start to do the design, get the suppliers ready, get it into production, and then launch the product and go through an acceleration curve to the time to ship. It's like 3.5 years. So those adjustments don't get made real time. But in the moment, the information systems that we put forward real time allow teams to make adjustments on what they're seeing, sometimes in a 24, 48 hour period of time. If something happens, especially if we didn't anticipate it, that's what the team meetings are for. Just like yours, you come into the meeting, the information is laid out, you look at what the scenario is, and you make adjustments real time in order for you to continue to achieve the adjustments to deliver the products and services.
So what would you say the top 3 qualities that you have to build a winning team? Or is it more qualities or like characteristics that you have to have? You have to have 3 to 5. Let's say 3 to 5.
Right. So if you go back to the very piece of paper, and I'll even start with things like the vision that you just talked about for PowerStroke. I mean, I felt like if I was going to be the leader and start to coach young men and women, I mean, you have to know and you have to care about the people that you're going to be leading. And I felt like, there were young minds that could easily influence young men. And I really wanted it to be more about the game of basketball, because I think sometimes we could get lost in the wins and losses and forget the larger picture of what we're trying to achieve. I think sometimes the people write kids off and they're early in their life. And, if they're 6, 7, and 8 years old, I mean, it's hard for you to tell. I mean, sometimes kids don't even start to grow until they're 12, 13, 14 years old, and their actual natural God-given talent starts to emerge. So you really have to be careful about that. And I think organizations are the same way. They can sometimes be fragile. You can have people that are coming to those positions for the first time or see you for the first time, and they could be really afraid of what you're going to do, what you're going to say, what you're going to change, how you're going to do it. So there's a lot to be concerned about, that whole scenario of caring about the people that you're with and really gaining the trust that you're going to try to do the best for them. That's number one. Then this whole notion of a vision and a philosophy. And I think that if you have a vision and philosophy, one that you can refer back to over and over again, and you'll be consistent about it, you'll be surprised, good or bad, how that philosophy is bought into and is advocated. So the leader has to have a compelling vision. They have to have a comprehensive strategy for what we're trying to do. So I spent a lot of time, whether it be working to prepare for practices for the kids, working to prepare for a game, et cetera. I didn't just go into the game and just roll the balls out there and say, hey, we're just going to play. You develop plays, defenses, how you're going to teach it, how you're going to get the philosophy, and how you're going to get the basic mechanics in to make the whole offensive and defensive strategy work. So having a person that's able to break down the vision, the strategy, and the plan, and then I think the fundamental lost art in every profession has to deal with teaching. You cannot assume that people know everything. And I don't care if you've been a pro for 20 years, you can learn something. So breaking it down, whatever the strategy is and whatever you're trying to deploy, be prepared to set up the forums to constantly teach, make alignment, bring people together from an alignment standpoint, have alternatives for what you're going to do when you see it, when you talked about like going to the line and making it audible, and then making the appropriate adjustments to keep you on the right track. It's alignments, adjustments, our alignments, alternatives, and adjustments for key winning. Lastly, I'll say this, Benny. No matter what you decide to do, if you're going to coach, you have to make a commitment, because that commitment to coaching requires a lot of prep time. It's not something that if you're going to be a good coach or a good player, and you expect to be on the podium, there is a price to pay. Being amongst the world's elite, especially when you get to that top 10th or 1%, as I was. I mean, the leaders are very capable, very competent, and things could change in a moment's notice. So you really just have to make sure that you're committed to being a world-class leader and preparing to do that every day.
Those right there are the winning characteristics. I would just, add on to that, like you said, starts with that vision, the communication. The communication has to be from the top down. You're only as good as your weakest link. That's one of the best things that I learned from some of the leaders that I've played with, on the Super Bowl teams I've been with, and on the teams the best teams I've been on is we've gotten the most contributions from the youngest players, or the biggest contributions from the youngest players, because they know the good players are already going to take care of their job. That communication, and then just delegation. Everybody doing their job, everybody knowing their role and embracing their role is super important. And I think those are just, some of the key qualities and characteristics that you need on a winning team. And that, with that being said, everybody, Benny and Benny on the Quiet Time podcast, talking about winning teams and what it takes to build winning teams and the qualities and characteristics that you guys need and that we coach on. And we look forward to seeing you guys in the next episode, where we will be talking about even more great things. Thank you, guys.
Fantastic, Benny. Thank you.